Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I thank who've inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well. And I will have links below this video to their sites. They have Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Lon Anavar, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rabbi Daniel Asser, Nissan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobek, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Usher, Rabbi Ron Ruvain, and Rabbi Yosef Chesney. So if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link below to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the soul means, what it stands for, and what I'm doing. So this is for the upcoming parasha, which is Parashat Vayeshev, and this is from the Insights, Parasha Insights by Rabbi Mansour, and I call this Keep the Faith. So the Midrash cited by Rashi to Bereshis 37:3 tells us that before Yosef was sold as a slave by his brothers at the age of 17, he learned Torah from his father Yaakov. Specifically, the Midrash writes, Yaakov transmitted to Yosef all the Torah he had learned during the years he spent in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver, and that was actually, I'm just saying this myself, that was the 14 years between the time he left his parents, who said he should go to Haran to Rivka's brother. So in the meantime, he went and studied in yeshiva of Shem and Aver for 14 years before he went there, and that was to kind of strengthen himself. So that's just a side note, just so in case you didn't know that. So the work Beit Aharon writes the question of why Yaakov transmitted to Yosef, specifically the Torah knowledge which he received from Shem and Aver. After all, Yaakov Avinu learned Torah for many years at home before going to learn with Shem and Aver. In fact, the Hinda, which is Reb Chaim Yosef David Azulai, writes that Avram Avinu was still alive when Yaakov was born. And until Avram's death, when Yaakov was 15, the three patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, learned Torah together each and every day. Yaakov thus received Torah not only from Shem and Aver, but also from his father and grandfather. Why then does the Midrash teach that Yaakov transmitted to Yosef, specifically the Torah he received at the academy of Shem and Aver? The Beit Aharon answers that Yaakov foresaw the suffering and hardship that Yosef would endure, and so he prepared him during his youth by teaching him specifically the Torah of Shem and Aver. Shem lived during the flood, witnessing the destruction of the entire earth, and Aver lived during Dor HaFlaga, which is the generation that built the tower and was then dispersed throughout the world. Both Shem and Aver witnessed great upheavals and tragedies, but they retained their faith. Their spirit was not broken, and they devoted themselves to Hashem and to the Torah, even after experiencing cataclysmic events. This is the Torah that Yaakov made a point of transmitting to Yosef, knowing that Yosef would need this level of faith to get through the difficult period he would be forced to suffer. Sure enough, Yosef went through his ordeal with his faith fully intact. After his prophetic dreams, which foretold his leadership over his family, everything seemed to be headed in the opposite direction. His brothers despised him, and they later sold him as a slave to a foreign country. There could be nothing further from royalty than being a slave in Egypt. And then Yosef was thrown into an Egyptian prison for a crime he never committed. At that moment, when Yosef was sent to jail, it seemed all but impossible that Yosef's prophecy of leadership could ever be fulfilled. There did not appear to be any reason to imagine that he would ever be released, let alone become a ruler, and yet Yosef retained his faith. The Beit Aharon notes that after the Torah tells us of Yosef's master throwing him into prison, the Torah then emphasizes, Vayehi sham bebeit hasoar. He was there in the prison. This phrase at first glance seems redundant. Once we've been told that Yosef's master threw him into the dungeon, we quite obviously know that Yosef was there in the dungeon. The Beit Aharon explains this to mean that once Yosef was placed in the prison, he was there willingly. He did not complain or feel embittered by his situation. Armed with the lesson of faith taught by Shem and Aver, which Yosef received from his father, he accepted his position as the will of Hashem and fully trusted that everything would ultimately turn out for the best, which, as we know, it did. The story of Yosef teaches us the virtually important lesson of Hashgacha, providence, reminding us that no matter how difficult it sometimes is to view our situation from a positive angle, we must firmly trust that everything that happens is for the best. When we live with this level of faith, then we, like Yosef, will not be broken by adversity and will instead accept every condition we find ourselves in and will always be happy, upbeat, and confident regardless of the situation. And I hope and pray that we all can retain that and keep the faith and realize that everything is for the best and that we will all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days, and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.